The Standing Committee on Public Accounts, or Scopa, says that it's concerned about the lack of service delivery and human capacity at the Unemployment Insurance Fund after discovering that the fund currently has a backlog of 444,000 emails from the public. Now, Scopa and the Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour recently conducted an oversight visit to the UIF and discovered that the fund only had 8 call centre agents to deal with the immense backlog of emails. The UIF receives approximately 30,000 calls from the public per day, but only manages to attend to 3,000 of those calls. In a statement, Scopa said that they find it disturbing that the consulting company who is responsible for the development of the information and communication technology system could not respond to questions as to why the system was not functioning properly. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, the chairperson of Scopa, joins us now to talk more about this. Mr. Hlengwa, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
An absolute pleasure. Good morning to you and the viewers, Sakina.
Well, that makes for some grim reading this morning, and it basically bears out what our viewers have been complaining about, and we've been asking the UIF whether they were sufficiently capacitated, and the problem seems to be much bigger than what's alluded to. But please tell us about the reason behind your oversight visit to the UIF.
Well, I must indicate that the committee has taken a decision for what we call boots on the ground oversight, insofar as all the entities and departments that appear before us all have got matters, because we have found that the reports which we are receiving on paper may not correlate with the reality on the ground or in the offices of the various offices. So you will recall that in June, when the problems at the UIF started to emerge and there was a public outcry about the shortcomings and so far as turnaround time and payments and so on, we had a meeting with the UIF, and at the time it emerged that the systems were inadequate, and that was primarily why there was the problems that we had. So what we then did was we met with the SIU and the AG last week to give us an update on the matters insofar as the challenges that the UIF are concerned. Among other things, that dead people have been paid, soldiers, some 78 soldiers have been paid, under 8 children, SASSA beneficiaries, NSFAS beneficiaries. And for us, it was the clearest indication then that the system, or the ICT system, as we've pointed out, was not integrated to Home Affairs, amongst others, to actually pick up these people. We then went to the UIF to actually not engage with the management, but to actually engage with the people in the respective spaces, whether it's the call centers, SDM, and so on. And that is where then all these things began to emerge. But at the same time, of course, you'll recall the minister has taken decisions which we welcome, to suspend the UIF commissioner, the CFO, the COO, and the director of SCM. And we believe that that was the correct course of action given the circumstances. One must therefore hasten to say, however, we have to differentiate between the day-to-day operations of the UIF in the normal course of work and, of course, the new added responsibilities which came with COVID-19, which quite clearly the UIF was not prepared for, fair enough. But the systems that they put in place afterwards are what have been called into question the integrity of the payment system, when we actually have a situation where even UIF employees who are still in the employ are actually receiving UIF benefits. The biggest indictment is, as you've already pointed out in your intros, that we've got 444,000 emails backlog, with only a turnaround time of processing per day of 680 of these emails, which by our calculation, that 444,000 will only be cleared within the next 2.5 years. So the issues of capacity are of concern to us, and the Minister and the Acting Commissioner were present in the meeting we had with the management, and they've understood very clear some of the injunctions we are giving about capacity building, probing of the contract, which, the ICT contract, which is currently at play at UIF, we actually found that there is just, and the staff there, one must say today, is demoralized. There is a trust deficit between management and the executives and the employees, but also at the same time, we are not even to the fact that a lot of the corruption will be taking place in the spaces where we are in, and that is why we have then invited the SIU to accompany us on this oversight, and they had an opportunity to observe in real time some of the things that were happening at the UIF.
Mr. Hlengwa, we could spend days lamenting and decrying what is going wrong at the UIF. The problem, however, is that people need these funds. They need these monies. We are in the middle of a pandemic still. There's talk that, we could be going back into a more restrictive measures of this lockdown, given what's happening in the rest of the world, and that might or might not happen. All the same, people depend on these monies, Mr. Hlengwa. What is the way forward? Because it is totally unacceptable that the UIF would come on national platforms and tell people to send emails, knowing very well there are only 8 call center agents to deal with those and that they don't have capacity. It's unacceptable that they can only take 3,000 of 30,000 calls daily, and who knows what the actual turnaround rate of resolving those particular issues are. So what is the way forward for people so that they can receive their monies, Mr. Hlengwa?
I fully agree with you, Sakin, and that is exactly what prompted our oversight visit, so that we could be able to have a meaningful discussion around these issues. Our directive has been very clear, and I think the minister has understood it, and the acting commissioner, is to beef up the capacity of the UIF insofar as the turnaround time is concerned. If it means more human resource, they must do so, to the extent that if the services of private practitioners insofar as call center capacity is required, then they should do so. So all those processes now are underway in order to make sure that we broaden the scope of personnel available to actually deal with these things. But the second issue is to say we need to beef up now the strength and capacity and integration of the ICT systems, because the numbers we are giving you, Sakina, are only at head office. They are not reflective of the 126 UIF sites or labor offices across the country. We don't know the numbers of that as yet. And the fundamental issue is that there is a disconnect between head office and its offices. And so that is why we will have to, there too as well, build up a new ICT system which is going to be able to respond to these things. The issue here is that the UIF did not have forward planning for crisis, and that we need to correct. And for the UIF to function, it needs heightened technological capabilities and human resource. And the commitment of the minister and the acting UIF commissioner in this regard is positive, and we are going to be having these follow-ups now as a way of actually whittling down on the backlog. Which is there. It's good that the portfolio committee was with us, because they are the line function body for reporting, but we will be keeping an eye on it. But the third stream is for consequence management insofar as successful investigations and prosecutions, so that you can be able to eat away at the corruption which is at the UIF, which has emboldened these elements to have what I can only call a laissez-faire attitude to the plight of our people. So if those three things can be done and are being done, we are quite confident that we will be able to have a functional and effective UIF. So that is where our focus is now, the building up of capacity for the UIF, so that our people can be able to access their services in real time.
Mr. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, Chairperson of Scopa, thanks for talking to us about your recent oversight visit to the UIF along with the Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour.